Good evening. This side Rahul Magan here is a Group Chief Executive Officer, Treasury Consulting, and also a venture capitalist. As we speak, Treasury Consulting Group is a multinational headquartered group based out India, Singapore, and Hong Kong. More importantly, we do have offices in three parts of the globe. Apart from that, we operate our own hedge fund. Now, our hedge fund is proprietary in nature. Now, by proprietary, it means no third party capital can invest it. We only take positions on our own capital. We do not take position on anybody's capital. And like an American hedge fund, we are taking positions in FICC, fixed income, currencies, and commodities. Apart from that, we take position in other asset classes also. Probably in another couple of years, we would be adding more asset classes also. Like I said, our group is 100% profitable, $0 backing by any private equity or a venture capitalist firm. More importantly, no debt from any bank or any financial institution. And apart from that, a huge quantity of the products. Now, if you wish to have any information, you can WhatsApp on my personal number, which is +91 9899 242 978. Alternatively, you can WhatsApp on our back office, which is +91 9818 485 155. You know that Treasury Consulting believes in knowledge. We don't believe in stupidity. And this is one of the reasons why we always make videos which no one wanted to make. And now our law desk is on. We are slowly accumulating videos. Our target is very clear that by June 2022, we would have at least 40-45 very excellent law videos on our YouTube channel. And this journey would continue. I'm a very strong believer of the fact that functional knowledge is always gifted by somebody who is in the sky. You cannot have a functional knowledge until otherwise you have a blessings of the God. And of course, because of his blessings, you need to work really very hard for that. Like I'm shooting this video about 5 a.m. Singapore timings, 5 a.m. And by the time I sleep, it would be 7 a.m. Singapore timing. The whole Singapore would open and I would go and take some 2-3 hours of rest, then again in action. In majority of the meetings I'm invited, whether this is in India or this is in Singapore, I always rather stressed the concern of functional competitiveness. I call this functional competitiveness, which means that you should be functionally competent. Since you would be functionally competent, it would help you to see the complete picture. Example, let me take a simplistic example of two birds made by the Lord. One is the sparrow and one is the eagle. Sparrow flies hardly 300-400 feet AGL. AGL means above ground level. And sparrow will not be able to see the holistic picture of the earth. While hawk, eagle, he flies around 30,000 feet. In Discovery Channel and many other channels, sometimes it is mentioned that hawk flies higher than that. And it is also mentioned that hawk is having a God-gifted capability that he can even fly for many days. Rather, the God have gifted blessings that they can fly for many days, and they can even have, their I would say their eyes on a very smallest objects. And once they feel that the object is in the radar, they came down from 30,000 feet to the ground in a span of less than 1 to 2 minutes, and the object never get to know. So in our life is also like that. Our life is not indifferent from this example. Either we can be sparrow or we can be hawk. 99.99% of the globe decided to be sparrow, but they always speak like a hawk, and hardly 0.01% people of the globe, they think like a hawk and act like a hawk. This is the reason, like if you ever heard that in the central banks, like whether this is the the fraud central bank like Federal Reserve, whether this is Indian Central Bank, whether this is other central bank, there are hardly any hawkish people. There are more dovish people. Now, hawkish people are those people, those who go against the stream, and dovish people are those people, let it be. In Hindi, we call it chalta hai attitude. Now, similar is the scenario. We have the legal fraternity worldwide. And of course, India is definitely not an exception. Legal people are very good people if, but, has been, have been, if been, not been, in all these words. But the functional capability of the legal people are always under scrutiny. They know section 2, subsection B, subsection C. Guys, functional competitiveness. That's more example. Today I would like to highlight this again. And when I'm saying highlight, it is not about India, it is about worldwide. Because today I'm highlighting a major issue in the arbitration clauses, which is called third party funding, also known as litigation funding. So first I give you the theoretical definition. Example. In a world, we see Burj Khalifa, we see big dams created by big countries, big green solar power plants, space center in the space. Now there are talks that Amazon is also entering into a space center. God knows what is something they're going to left with, to be honest. And these all are projects, very large projects, Huge amount of capital is required. Huge amount of expertise is required. And uncertainty is always here. There is hardly any doubt that, like, if you are creating let me take a simplistic example of 3 George. I don't know whether you heard about 3 George or not. 3 George is the largest hydropower project by China. Although it is very old now, but when 3 George was done, the whole world was on the toes. How come China did it without any external help, neither in terms of money nor in terms of human power? But they did it. Now, what happens when you do such huge projects? When definitely there are many people involved, many opinions involved, many ways of moving, of course, uncertainty and act of God. God knows, example, you are making a very big hydropower project. Act of God is always here. No one can stop that. A big quake and a complete project is shamble. Maybe you are creating a big space center, huge capital, One asteroid, game over. Simple. Everything is in shambles. So, and history is a witness that many aerospace projects went haywire even after huge investment and huge human capital. Now, when these things happen, both parties, whether party A or party B, they try to put fingers on each other. Human mentality. Party A say, so let me create a simplistic example. Party A, now here I am creating a simplistic example, Party A. Party A wanted to create a space center. They have the capital. They have the human power, some on their payrolls and some which they hired external consultants. And Party B is the leading uh, consulting company in the aerospace business. Both enter into an agreement and they say, let's go ahead. Good job. Suppose the cost of making this aero center is $10 billion, which is around 7,50,000 crores. And by the way, 10 billion is a small amount I quoted, because once you make such projects in space, it is way beyond, 10 billion is nothing. It's just a penny. Now, the companies, those who are giving the consulting, Party B, they are not as strong as Party A. Had it been Party B made their own space center, common sense. So, act of God is always here. So what would the whole space center is ready? One asteroid which was not forecasted, assuming by NASA, assuming they have taken the service of NASA, and NASA saying, as per our forecast, we don't see any asteroid, at least till the time you are going to complete this project. But act of God, all of a sudden there is an asteroid beyond imagination, and that asteroid is going to be hitting that aerospace, and the aerospace center is ready. $10+ billion invested, the relevant expert people, they are on the board in the space. Now everyone is on the toes. What's up? And suppose that asteroid crashed to that aerospace center, and what project in shambles, all mess on the cards. Now both parties started pointing fingers on each other. Party A is more powerful because they hold huge capital, while Party B is also powerful in knowledge wise, but money wise they are not very powerful. Of course, in such big projects like aerospace, renewable projects, dams, construction, the tallest building of the globe, underground research labs, and all these complicated projects, there are arbitration clauses because anything can happen. But the arbitration acts worldwide, they give a privilege of something which is known as third party funding, alternatively known as litigation financing. Now, which means that Party B can create a special purpose vehicle. Oops. Party B is creating a special purpose vehicle. Now, how come the special purpose vehicle coming into the picture? Let's take a pause here. Now, I'm taking a simplistic example. This is a hypothetical example. Please don't treat this like both the names which I'm quoting, they are actually into this business. It's a hypothetical example to make this video more meaningful. Suppose the two largest private equity players of the globe, BlackRock and Blackstone, I don't think any introduction is required. They heard about this project that Party A is making an aerospace. They don't need capital, so they don't need our service. Party B, who is a leading consultant in the aerospace business, they are making. Blackstone and BlackRock did their own due diligence and they got to know that the probability of getting success is extremely high, rather too high. Very good, super. Now what they did is they contacted Party B. And suppose Party B project head is Mr. Martin, simplistically. Mr. Martin said, since this is a big project, And God forbid if it went wrong, we need to litigate this. And three important things: seat of arbitration is New York, which means expensive. Venue of arbitration is New York, which means expensive, of course. Third is it can also have anti-suit injections. So it having both injections and anti-suit injections. Now I'm not repeating injections and anti-suit injections. You can refer our earlier video. Here I explain. All three have lots of complications and cost involved. Like I said, party B is financially okay, but not at par what party A is. Mr. Martin decided to create a special purpose vehicle with Blackstone and BlackRock and said, note very carefully, note very carefully. Like I said, I'm taking a pause here. Arbitration is just like a liability, and liabilities across the globe, whether this is Apple, Google, Amazon, Microsoft, Facebook, Accenture, any other company, is of four types. Number one, when you know the period and you know the payout. When you know the period, you don't know the payout. When you don't know the period, but you know the payout. And when you know both, when you do not know both. Now in this case, you know the period, but you don't know the payout, because party A is having maintenance clause till 5 years of completion. And assuming the completion is 2021 end, and 5 years means 2026 end. So you know the period that within this 5-year period, starting from 2021 till 2026, God forbid anything happen, we are subject to have an arbitration or maybe a legal dispute or maybe both. You know the period, but amount you do not know. Because this is a complicated project, you don't know anything can happen. Things are beyond imagination. So Mr. Martin, who is the project manager of company B, talked with BlackRock and Blackstone and saying, let's create a special purpose vehicle, which is off balance sheet. I repeat, off balance sheet. God forbid, if there is some mess happen within from 21 end to 26 end, which means a 5-year period, then you would be financing us $200 million, because we would be litigating this in New York or probably with best lawyers. So we need at least $200 million. Now there are 4 types of third party financing, and maybe in the later videos I would be explaining this. Now the first type of third party financing is when you are making a special purpose vehicle which is off balance sheet. Now very simplistically it can be referred as a contingent consideration. Very simplistically we can say. Secondly, when you are taking a bank facility, I'm sorry, but globally many arbitration acts, including Indian Arbitration and Reconciliation 1996, they are almost silent on this bank funding knowledge. Third is the trade finance instruments like DPLC, SPLC, SPG, BG, subordinate bonds. And number 4 is a revolving credit. Now I'm not explaining all these 4, maybe in the later stages I would be explaining all these 4. So Mr. Martin, who is the head of company B, basically the consulting company, having 4 options. SPV, your trade finance instrument like SPLC, BG, SPG, subordinate bonds and all. Revolving credit line, and very importantly, number 4, bank instruments. Now the choice is Mr. Martin needs to mention this explicitly, note, explicitly in the contract. And that too upfront. Please note upfront. There is an ambiguity which I found in the arbitration clauses worldwide that, and I'm sorry, I tend to disregard this outrightly, which is third party financing can be taken at the time of the arbitration. Excuse me. Third party financing should be mentioned explicitly in the contract. If it is taken at the time of any dispute, then this is a violation of the contract. Because party A, who is making this aerospace project, is not aware that Blackstone and BlackRock are in the picture. And all of a sudden, they get a bump, nuclear bump, that the two largest private equity players are in the picture. So it has to be mentioned explicitly in the contract. And if any party violates that, then you cannot have third party financing until otherwise both party post facto, I repeat, post facto, agreed to introduce third party financing into the picture. And if either of the party disregard, then the only issue is the judicial route. You need to approach the court, maybe you need to approach the foreign arbitration, maybe you need to approach any consortium to add this in your contract, which is post facto. Litigation financing is one of the most important concepts in the arbitration. Unfortunately, Indian Arbitration and Conciliation 1996 is almost silent on that. But I have a case which I got from the Google. I have shared a copy of that on our media desk. You can refer. This article is dated in 2019, which means 2 years ago. HCC, Hindustan Construction Company, who is a EPC, Engineering Procurement and Construction Company in India, they led by a consortium of investors, BlackRock Inc. Under this, HCC will monetize the pool of the arbitration awards and claims in exchange for an upfront cash payment, which means that there are various disputes which must be going on at that point of time. And HCC entered into an agreement with BlackRock that if we go to winning it, we would be paying you 50% of that. And you pay us this amount upfront. Now, there are many issues which we have. I would like to explain this issue. Number 1. It is often said on the Google and unfortunately many books without quoting the name that it is a non-recourse funding. Now, what the hell is non-recourse? Non-recourse means, in our case, BlackRock and Blackstone would be funding $200 million to company B, and if company B lose the litigation, then whole $200 million is zero. This is non-recourse, which means the financial backing of BlackRock and Blackstone is zero. Alternatively, it is recourse. Yes. Non-recourse funding is only in the books. If it would be great if you refer this as a theory concept. It is recourse. Like how? Blackstone and BlackRock, the two leading private equity players, they say to the party B, Mr. Martin, head of project, said, guys, we give you 200 million. Of course, if you win, suppose, God forbid, if there is a dispute and you win, you pay us the 80% of the award. Else, I'm going to be taking 10% stake in the company. Or probably They can have any explicit condition, not my word, explicit condition. There is a difference between explicit condition and implicit condition. Now let me explain this. Of course, in the later videos, we would explain this in detail, but explicit condition in third party financing means you will give A, B, C, D, E. F, no. G, no. You will explicitly mention that this is how it's going to be in writing. You put your sign. Implicit means diplomatic language, double meaning language. Of course, implicit definitions are always subject to judicial issues. It is led to more stress for both the parties. So in case of third party financing, which is also known as litigation financing, the private equity players love to have explicit conditions. But sometimes, due to the absence of knowledge, lack of subject matter expertise, the private equity player go with implicit condition also, and here they kill their own game or their own grounds. So to conclude this video, remember that when you are handling a big project like hydropower project, aerospace projects, the huge renewable factories, the huge electric vehicle projects, and all such projects where a huge capital, man, I would say the human power, the government interference, and always act of God is always possible. Always have a clause of third party financing. Remember guys, third party financing is applicable to the person who gives the consulting, because the person who is investing the money, he's already rich. He don't need any money. So in our example, there's somebody who is making the aerospace project, investing $10 billion. For him, 200 million, 300 million legal issue is nothing, small. It's just 2 to 3% of the capital, nothing. So, but the company who gives the service, they make 200, 300 billion as their fees after the whole project is done. And what would if there is a litigation and the whole fees went into the litigation? So, third party financing is required for them. Number two, like I said, third party financing is of 4 types. Number 1, you can create SPV. Number 2, you can have bank instruments. Number 3, you can have cash. Number 4, you can have trade finance instrument like SPLC, DPLC, BG and all. Number 5, you can issue the subordinate bonds. Holistic understanding, pros and cons of all these are required before signing the contract. Please don't be idiotic that, oh my God, I got the contract, I'm going to be signing it, go to hell the arbitration. Come on guys. If this would end up as a mess, then you are also in a mess. Have arbitration and make it more holistic, please. Very importantly, always make sure that the third party financing, also known as litigation financing, is backed up by the people having strong muscles. No, not like this, money muscle. They can back you up. God forbid in our case, like company A, company B, and what would if there is a litigation, company B backed up by any private equity player and they say, oh my God, we are not interested. Then company B is gone. Number 4, and very important thing, forget non-recourse funding. It is only in the books. Better we call this as a theory concept. It is recourse funding. And when I say recourse, I mean to say the party, it means the private equity players. Like in our case, we took an example of BlackRock and Blackstone. They have to mention either explicitly or implicitly. By explicitly means clear, by implicitly means diplomatic. Last but not the least, and very important, accounting of litigation financing. Accounting of litigation financing is completely different, and unfortunately no one talks about that, but we'll talk when the time comes. This is about the video on the third party financing. Unfortunately, Indian Arbitration and Conciliation Act 1996 is almost ambiguous on litigation financing. Although we are having various cases like this case of Hindustan Construction Company and many other cases where litigation financing is done, but unfortunately, the complete case is nowhere in the public. So difficult to tell. Apart from that, one thing which is ambiguous in case of litigation financing is the judicial interference. Please be very clear. Once you are signing a contract, make sure that the seat of arbitration, the venue of arbitration, injunction or anti-injunction clauses needs to be reviewed carefully. These are the three important things which can create a mess or resolve a mess for you in any case arbitration happen. Because third party financing is nothing but funding of that arbitration. Of course, it is an evolving subject, and probably in another couple of years you will see this concept would be very huge. This is Rahul Magan from Tertiary Consulting Group. We love to present these videos to you, and I'm telling you that the most important thing in the law is always the functional competitiveness. And unfortunately, I really saw the functional competitiveness in the legal professionals. They are very good in if, has been, have been, this been, not been. But in terms of functional competent, it is really difficult. I know that like our all videos, it offended many people. To people, those who are offended, my number 91 +91 9899 242 978. More such videos on the cards. Have a great time. Heads up. Thank you.